The unforeseen visitor was a quiet night. The moon hung high in the sky, casting a soft silver glow across the empty street. The world outside seemed calm, peaceful even. But inside the small, modest home, things were about to change forever. Kara had just finished her late dinner when she heard a strange noise outside. It wasn't the usual sound of wind or the rustling of leaves. It was a hum, low, vibrating, almost like a distant engine. She paused. The hair on the back of her neck stood up. She walked over to the window and peeked through the blinds. Her heart raced when she saw it, an object in the sky, slowly descending. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't a helicopter. This was something else, something otherworldly. Kara's thoughts raced. Should she call someone? What was happening? She had always believed that aliens were just stories, myths told to scare children. But here she was, staring at an object coming down to Earth right near her home. The hum grew louder as the object touched the ground, creating a soft tremor beneath her feet. She could barely make out the shape, but it was metallic, with smooth edges and strange symbols flashing across its surface. A chill ran down her spine, but her curiosity pushed her to act. She grabbed her jacket, slipped her shoes on, and stepped outside. The cool night air hit her skin, sending a shiver through her body. As she approached the strange craft, she saw a figure emerge from it. A figure was tall, broad-shouldered, and cloaked in a shadowy hood with strange markings on his skin that glowed faintly. Kara stopped dead in her tracks, her heart pounding in her chest. The figure stood silently, his back to her. The soft hum of the ship was the only sound in the stillness. "Who are you?" Kara called out, her voice shaking despite her attempts to sound steady. The figure turned slowly. Kara's breath caught in her throat. His face was alien, but there was something undeniably human about his eyes, deep, sorrowful eyes that seemed to look right into her soul. I need help," the man said, his voice rough but full of desperation. "Please, I mean no harm." Kara took a hesitant step forward. She had always imagined what it might be like to meet an alien. But this wasn't how she thought it would happen. No flying saucers, no flashing lights, no government agents rushing in. Just a man, a very strange, very lost man, standing in front of her. "Help?" Kara repeated, still trying to process what was happening. "You've landed in my yard. What do you want?" The man's eyes darted around nervously, as if he was checking for someone. Then, in a softer voice, he said, "I was abandoned. Left behind by my people. My wife, she's gone. And I don't know where to go." Kara's mind struggled to keep up with the words. Abandoned? Left behind? What did that even mean? "Why are you here?" Kara asked, her voice more forceful now. "You're saying you're from another planet?" He nodded, his gaze never leaving her. "Yes, I am from a place far from here. I've come to find refuge, to be free of my past." Kara stared at him, the reality of the situation starting to sink in. She had never imagined this, an alien standing in front of her, asking for help. "And why come to me?" she asked, voice trembling. "Why me?" "I had no choice," he said softly. "They left me with nothing, no one to turn to. I thought, maybe you would understand." The silence between them stretched, thick and heavy. Kara's mind raced, trying to make sense of the alien man standing in front of her. His appearance was so different, yet his words spoke of something deeply familiar. Loneliness, desperation, and pain. Her heart softened, a mix of pity and curiosity welling up inside her. But at the same time, fear crept in. She had no idea what she was dealing with. He could be dangerous. He could be lying. But something in the way he looked at her, the vulnerability in his eyes, made her hesitate. "Come inside," she said finally. I don't know what's going on, but I can't just leave you out here. The alien man gave a small nod of gratitude, stepping toward her. His eyes remained locked on hers, like he was searching for something in her. She could feel the weight of his gaze, like he was hoping she would be the answer to his unknown troubles. Kara led him into the house, her mind spinning with questions. Who was this man? Why had he been abandoned by his people? What was the truth behind the shameful past he mentioned? As the door clicked shut behind them, Kara couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something far bigger than she could ever have imagined. Asterisk the alien's secret. The man, whose name was still unknown to Kara, sat on the edge of her couch, shifting uncomfortably. His eyes wandered around the room, as if unsure of where to look, as if the very act of sitting in her house was foreign to him. Kara, still unsure of what to make of the situation, poured herself a glass of water and took a deep breath. The silence was oppressive. The weight of the unknown hung in the air like a thick fog, and Kara could feel it pressing on her chest. What had she gotten herself into? Was she safe? Was he safe? Are you hungry? Kara asked, her voice trembling slightly as she set the glass down on the table. He nodded slowly, his movements almost too deliberate. There was something guarded in the way he spoke, as if he was choosing each word carefully. I haven't eaten in days. Kara moved toward the kitchen, but before she could turn on the stove, she heard him speak again, his voice low and strained. Thank you, he said, his words filled with a strange mix of gratitude and something else regret. Perhaps for helping me. Kara paused, sensing that this was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment where everything would begin to make sense, or at least where she would get a glimpse of the story he wasn't telling. Why are you really here? She asked softly, her back still to him as she searched for something quick to prepare. You said you were abandoned. But why? What happened to you? The alien man let out a heavy sigh, and Kara heard him shift on the couch, the creaking of the cushions almost loud in the silence. His answer came in fragments, his voice low and hesitant, as if the words were heavy and unwilling to leave his mouth. My people, he began, they ... They were always so proud of our heritage. My wife, she was different. Her family had a shameful past. They were once rulers of a great empire, but now they were cast aside, forgotten. Their name is a stain to them. Kara turned around then, her curiosity piqued. You left her because of that? The alien's gaze fell to his hands, his long fingers clasped tightly together. No, I loved her. But my people, they couldn't accept it. They couldn't accept her. I was forced to choose between her and my place among them. I thought I could make them understand. I thought I could change their minds, but I was wrong. Kara could hear the bitterness in his voice. The raw emotion was palpable, and for the first time since meeting him, she saw the cracks in his stoic exterior. He wasn't just an alien, he was a man who had been torn apart by loyalty, duty, and love. I thought I could protect her, he continued, his voice growing quieter. But I failed, and in the end, they left me. Abandoned me on a planet I barely knew, with nothing but my shame and the memories of what we lost. Kara's heart softened. She walked toward him, slowly, cautiously. She hadn't expected this. She had expected a story about conquest, about war. Instead, she was hearing about a broken heart. She wasn't sure what to say, but she couldn't stand to see him in such pain. Why didn't you go back for her? Kara asked, her voice gentle. As she knelt down in front of him, I couldn't. Not after everything. They ... They destroyed her reputation. They made her a prisoner of their own shame. But I never stopped loving her, he said, his voice breaking slightly. I thought if I stayed, if I tried to be a part of their world, I could somehow make it right. But I was wrong. Now she's gone. Kara felt a pang of sorrow for him. She knew nothing about his world, nothing about the rules that governed his people, but it was clear that he was lost. Abandoned by his own, broken by his own choices. You know where she is now? Kara asked softly, her words almost too quiet for him to hear. He met her eyes then, and for a moment there was something in his gaze, a flicker of hope, mingled with deep pain. I think I know, he said, his voice low, but I don't know. If I can go back, I don't know if I can face her again. Kara watched him carefully, trying to understand the depth of what he was saying. She had thought that maybe this was just another alien story, some strange tale of intergalactic politics. But this was real. This was a man, broken by love and betrayed by his own. You don't have to face it alone, Kara said, her voice steady. I'm here. I'll help you. The alien man looked at her, his eyes filled with an emotion she couldn't quite place. Gratitude? Hope? Fear? Why? He asked, his voice soft and trembling. Because you're not alone, she replied, offering him a small smile. And I can't just send you back into the darkness. Not when you've been left to fight on your own. For the first time since meeting him, the alien's face softened. A small, uncertain smile tugged at the corners of his lips. Thank you. Kara nodded, but in her heart, a question lingered, one that she didn't know how to answer. Was this the beginning of something new? Or had she just opened the door to a world of unimaginable danger? Either way, there was no turning back now. Asterisk. A shocking revelation. The next morning, the soft morning light filtered through the curtains, bathing the room in a warm glow. Kara woke up early, her thoughts still heavy with the strange, unfamiliar presence of the alien man in her home. His story haunted her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something he wasn't telling her. There were too many questions left unanswered, too many mysteries left unsolved. She found him sitting in the living room, staring out the window, lost in thought. His profile was sharp, his expression distant, as if he were seeing something far beyond the walls of her house. He hadn't slept much the night before, and the exhaustion was evident in the dark circles beneath his eyes. Kara hesitated for a moment before walking toward him. Are you all right? She asked softly, unsure if she should disturb him. He turned slowly, his eyes meeting hers. There was something different in them now, something almost sadder than before. I'm not sure, he replied, his voice distant. There are things I haven't told you. Things you need to know before you decide whether you want to help me or not. Kara felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She had known something was off. She had known that the alien man was hiding something deeper than just his past. And now, it seemed, the truth was about to unfold. I'm listening, Kara said, her voice steady but tinged with worry. He took a deep breath, running his fingers through his hair. For a moment, he seemed lost in thought, as if weighing whether he should go on. Finally, he spoke, his words quiet but heavy. There's more to my story than just the betrayal of my people. There's something I didn't tell you about my wife, he began, his eyes locking onto hers. Her name is Lyra. She's not just anyone. She's the heir to a long-forgotten royal bloodline. A bloodline that's been hidden, erased, and hunted down for generations. Kara's brow furrowed in confusion. A royal bloodline? What do you mean? He leaned forward, his gaze intense. Lyra's family was once rulers of an entire system, a powerful empire that spanned several planets. But over time, their power faded, and they became enemies to the very ones they had once ruled. There were betrayals, wars, and in the end, the bloodline was hunted down, wiped out, or so they thought. Kara felt the weight of his words, but she didn't understand. Why would your people abandon her for something that happened in the past? The alien man's face hardened, his expression darkening. It wasn't just the past, it was what she could become. Her bloodline, it carries power. A power that could change everything. And when my people learned that she was still alive, they couldn't risk letting her rise again. They feared what she might do. Kara felt a shiver run down her spine. This was more than a family feud. This was something far bigger. So, they abandoned her to keep her from getting that power? He nodded grimly. Yes, but it's not that simple. Lyra doesn't even know the truth of who she is. She doesn't remember her heritage. And neither do I, but my people, they always knew. They feared that one day she would awaken that power, and they were right. But I never wanted that for her. I loved her too much to let that happen. So I left. I thought I was protecting her. Kara stared at him, her mind racing. She had thought his past was tragic enough, but this was a different kind of tragedy. It wasn't just about love and betrayal. It was about something far more dangerous, something that could alter the balance of power in the galaxy. But now, he continued, his voice barely above a whisper, I've learned something that changes everything. Lyra is alive. She's been taken. And my people, they're planning to use her to seize control. They want her to rule, to lead their army, to bring them back to power. Kara's heart raced as she tried to process what he was saying. What do you mean, use her? What do they want from her? They want her to unlock her full potential, he said, his voice filled with regret. Her bloodline holds a power that can alter the very fabric of reality. They believe she can reshape the universe itself, and they will stop at nothing. To make that happen, the room felt colder suddenly, the air thick with tension. Kara could see the torment in the alien man's eyes, the conflict raging inside him. He was torn between love and duty, between the woman he had once loved and the woman who could change the fate of entire galaxies. You have to stop them, Kara said, her voice firm. You can't let them use her like that. She deserves to know the truth. I know, he replied, his voice filled with a quiet desperation. But I can't do it alone. I need your help. Kara didn't hesitate. She had already made up her mind. Whatever it took, she wasn't going to let this man face this battle alone. Not after everything he had shared. Then we'll do it together, she said, her voice steady with resolve. We'll rescue her. The alien man looked at her, his eyes searching hers for a moment, as if looking for the strength he had lost. And then, for the first time since he had arrived, he gave a small, grateful nod. But as the words of their plan began to form, Kara couldn't help but wonder how far would they have to go to stop an empire. And would they survive the truth that awaited them at the end? Asterisk the betrayal. The air was thick with uncertainty, as Kara and the alien man, whom she had come to know as Zarek, began to form their plan. They sat at the table, a dim light casting shadows on their faces, as Zarek explained more about his people and their pursuit of Lyra. Every word he spoke felt heavier than the last, and with each revelation, the stakes grew higher. We can't just storm in and grab her, Zarek said, his brow furrowed with the weight of their mission. My people are powerful, and they're watching her closely. They won't hesitate to destroy anyone who tries to stop them. Kara could see the torment in his eyes. His words weren't just about fear for Lyra. They were about the battle he'd been running from for years. The fear of what would happen if his people, or worse, Lyra herself, ever unleashed the full extent of her power. I know you want to protect her, Kara said, her voice soft but firm. But if we don't act now, it might be too late. We need to get to her before they do something irreversible. Zarek nodded, his gaze distant as he considered the weight of her words. You're right. I've spent so much time running from my past that I never thought about what would happen if I didn't act. But the truth is, if we fail, we may. never see her again. And worse, we may unleash a force we can't control. Just then, Kara's phone buzzed, breaking the tension in the room. She picked it up, her heart racing when she saw the message. It was from an unknown number. "She's been found. You're too late." Kara's stomach dropped. The message was short, but the implication was clear. Someone had found Lyra, and time was running out. "Who's it from?" Zarek asked, his voice low, his instincts already on edge. "I don't know," Kara replied, her fingers trembling as she held the phone. "But they're saying we're too late." Zarek stood up abruptly, his eyes narrowing as a dark energy seemed to radiate off of him. "We can't waste any more time. They've found her, and they'll use her to their advantage. We need to get to her now." The urgency in his voice snapped Kara back into focus. She felt her pulse quicken, adrenaline flooding her system. This wasn't just a rescue anymore. It was a race against time. But just as she stood to gather her things, a sudden sound rang out from the front door. A soft knock. It was almost too quiet, like the sound of a warning. Zarek froze, his entire body stiffening. "Get down," he hissed, pushing Kara behind the nearest wall. "It's a trap." Kara's heart pounded in her chest as she obeyed, crouching low and pressing herself against the cool surface. Zarek moved swiftly, his body fluid and tense, like a coiled spring ready to snap. He didn't make a sound, and his eyes never left the door. Another knock. "Who is it?" Kara whispered, trying to keep her voice steady. Zarek didn't respond. Instead, he gestured for her to stay silent. There was no way to know who it could be, but Zarek's warning was enough to make Kara's blood run cold. She could feel the danger in the air. Then the door creaked open. Slowly, silently, Kara's breath caught in her throat. Zarek's hand shot to his side, where a small, sleek weapon rested in a hidden holster. But instead of an enemy, the figure who entered was unexpected. It was a human woman, dressed in dark clothing, with sharp eyes and an aura of quiet confidence. Her presence was strange, as if she belonged to another world entirely, and her gaze landed on Zarek with recognition. "You," Zarek muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. The woman stepped forward, and Kara could see the flash of recognition in her eyes as well. "Zarek," she said, her tone cold, yet oddly calm. "I didn't expect you to be here, but I'm not surprised." Kara was on edge, her mind racing with questions. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. The woman gave a small, almost amused smile. "Let's just say I'm someone who knows exactly what you're dealing with, and what's coming." Zarek's face darkened. "You've come to stop me, haven't you?" "Not exactly," the woman said, her eyes never leaving him. "I've come to warn you. You're not the only one looking for Lyra. There are others who've been following her every move for a long time." Kara's stomach twisted in knots. "What do you mean? Who else is after her?" The woman's gaze shifted to Kara for a brief moment before returning to Zarek. "It's not just your people. There are others, factions beyond your control. Powerful people who want Lyra for their own purposes. And right now, they're already ahead of you." Zarek clenched his fists, his knuckles white. "I won't let anyone use her." "You don't have a choice," the woman said, her voice a little softer now, "because they've already reached her, and they've made her an offer you can't." Refuse. Kara's mind was spinning. What was this woman saying? Had they truly lost the chance to save Lyra? Before Zarek could respond, the woman spoke again, her voice filled with something like regret. "I came here because I wanted to help you, but the truth is far worse than you think, and the clock is ticking faster than you realize." Zarek's eyes hardened. "Tell me what's happening, and don't lie to me." The woman took a deep breath, her expression shifting into something more serious. Lyra is no longer the same. The power inside her has awakened, and now she's not just a pawn. She's the key, and if you don't act fast, she'll be lost. To you forever. The truth was clear now. They had underestimated the danger. They had underestimated the forces at play. And now it was too late to undo the damage that had already been set in motion. Kara felt her heart sink as the weight of their situation settled in. The betrayal had already begun, and now there was no turning back. Asterisk, a fight for redemption. Kara's heart hammered in her chest as the woman's words echoed in her mind. Lyra is no longer the same. She's not just a pawn. She's the key. Zarek was standing now, his posture rigid with a mixture of fury and disbelief. He turned slowly, his eyes burning with a mixture of frustration and regret. This wasn't supposed to happen. She wasn't supposed to know. Kara felt a wave of helplessness wash over her. She had always thought of this as a simple rescue. Mission: find the woman, bring her back, and restore the peace between Zarek and his people. But the truth was much darker than she had ever imagined. The woman, who had yet to reveal her name, watched them both carefully. There's more you don't understand. Lyra's awakening isn't just about power. It's about something much bigger, something that even your people couldn't comprehend. Zarek's voice was low and dangerous. Then tell me, what's really happening to her? The woman stepped closer, her eyes narrowing as she regarded Zarek. She's not only the heir to a royal bloodline. Her bloodline holds the power of an ancient race, the ancient rulers of the universe. Your people were right to fear her, Zarek, but what they didn't know was that this power is not only destructive. It can heal worlds, it can create, or it can destroy everything. Kara's head spun. A royal bloodline with the ability to reshape the universe? She hadn't been prepared for this kind of information. Her first instinct was to run to escape this web of power and danger that had entangled them. All but she couldn't leave Zarek to fight alone. I need to find her, Zarek said, his voice trembling with urgency. I need to stop them from using her. She won't survive what they're planning. The woman looked at him, her face unreadable. It's already too late to stop them. They've already found a way to control her. They've injected her with a substance that binds her power to their will. If you try to rescue her now, you'll only be walking into their trap. They'll kill you both. Kara felt a chill run down her spine. It was worse than she had imagined. Not only was Lyra being used, but she was being manipulated and controlled. This wasn't a rescue mission anymore. It was a battle for her freedom, her very soul. We can't give up, Kara said, stepping forward, her voice strong despite the fear that gripped her heart. We have to find a way to break their hold over her. There must be something we can do. The woman studied her for a moment, a flicker of something like respect in her eyes. You're not wrong. There is a way, but it's dangerous. It's a gamble. It may not work, and it may cost you more than you're willing to pay. Zarek clenched his fists, his mind already racing through the possibilities. Tell me, what's the plan? The woman sighed, as though reluctant to reveal what she knew. There's an ancient artifact, hidden in a place your people can't reach. The key to breaking the bond they've made with Lyra. But it's located in the heart of the galaxy, in a fortress protected by traps, illusions, and enemies you won't be able to see. It's guarded by a force older than even your people. Kara swallowed hard. It felt like a suicide mission. But what choice did they have? Zarek didn't hesitate. We'll find it. We have to. There's no other way. The woman's eyes softened slightly. I'll guide you, but be prepared. This isn't just a fight against your people. There are forces beyond the galaxy at play here. Forces that see Lyra as a weapon. They will do anything to stop her from being freed. And if you succeed in getting her back, You may never be able to go back to your old life. Zarek met her gaze, his expression unreadable. I never wanted to go back to my old life. Kara felt her pulse quicken. She had come into this with no idea of what it would become. But now, she was committed to this fight for Lyra's freedom, for Zarek's redemption, and for a future that might never come. We need to move. Fast, Kara said. They're going to come after us. And if we're going to have any chance of saving her, we need to be one step ahead. The woman nodded, a sense of finality in her eyes. Then we leave now. There's no time to waste. The three of them quickly gathered their things, making plans as they prepared for the journey. But as they stepped out of the house, a feeling of dread settled over Kara. Every step they took would bring them closer to an uncertain fate. They were entering a world they didn't understand, filled with enemies they couldn't predict. Zarek's voice broke through her thoughts. Kara, are you sure about this? We're about to go up against forces we don't know, with enemies we can't see. This will change everything. Kara met his gaze, her heart steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. I'm sure. We can't turn back now. They stepped outside, the dark sky looming overhead. The unknown path ahead was filled with danger, but it was the only choice they had. As they walked toward the ship that would take them across the galaxy, Kara couldn't help but wonder what awaited them on the other side. Would they succeed? Would they be able to free Lyra? Or would they be lost to the same forces that had already taken so much from them? One thing was certain. The battle for Lyra's freedom had just begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. Asterisk, a new beginning. The ship hung to life, its engines vibrating beneath their feet. Kara stood near the viewport, watching the world she knew recede behind her. The familiar landscape of Earth was quickly replaced by the endless void of space. She felt the weight of their mission press down on her, but there was no turning back now. Zarek was in the cockpit, his hands steady on the controls, his face illuminated by the soft glow of the ship's console. He had grown quiet since they'd left the safety of Kara's home. She couldn't blame him. They were headed into the unknown, to a place where danger lurked at every turn. And the woman who had once been his love, now a powerful, tortured soul, was their only hope. Kara had learned much about Lyra during their brief conversations with the mysterious woman, whose name was now revealed to be Lyra's sister, Seren. Lyra's awakening was more than just the revival of an ancient bloodline. It was a cosmic event that could alter the very structure of the galaxy. Her power had always been there, hidden deep inside her, but now it was out of control, and those who sought to control it were already closing in. You okay? Zarek's voice broke through her thoughts. She turned to find him watching her with concern, his jaw clenched, his eyes still haunted. Kara nodded, though uncertainty lingered in her chest. I'm fine. Just thinking. About what? His voice was gentle, but edged with the rawness of someone who had lived through countless battles. She hesitated before answering, her gaze drifting back to the stars. About the world we're heading into. We don't know what's waiting for us, and we don't know what's going to happen to Lyra when we find her. If we can even get to her. Zarek's eyes darkened, his expression unreadable. He didn't speak at first, but after a long pause, he said, You're right. We don't know what we'll find when we reach that place. The fortress where Lyra is kept is beyond the reach of any known galactic map. It's protected by ancient technology, the likes of which neither of us can understand. But I have to believe we can break through it. I have to believe that I can save her. Kara saw the intensity in his eyes, the desperation that had led him to this point. It wasn't just about rescuing Lyra anymore. It was about redemption, about making up for the years he had lost, and about breaking the chains that had bound him to a past he had tried so desperately to escape. As the ship glided through the inky blackness of space, Kara realized just how much was at stake. It wasn't just Lyra's fate. It was the fate of everything. The power Lyra held was a weapon, but it could also be the salvation of countless worlds if it was in the right hands, if it was in her hands. Suddenly, the ship lurched, the smooth flight interrupted by a violent shake. Kara stumbled, her hand shooting out to grip the nearest seat. Zarek cursed under his breath as his fingers danced over the controls, trying to steady the ship. "What's happening?" Kara demanded, her voice sharp with panic. "Someone's found us," Zarek said through gritted teeth. "They've activated a tracking signal. We're being pulled into a gravitational anomaly. A black hole, it looks like." The realization hit Kara like a blow to the chest. "Are we going to make it through?" Zarek didn't answer right away, his hands moving swiftly over the console, his brow furrowed in concentration. His face was pale, but his movements were precise. "It'll be close," he said, his voice steady despite the urgency. "But if we don't act fast, we won't have a chance." Kara's heart was racing as she watched the black hole grow larger through the viewport. Its swirling darkness threatened to consume them, its pull stronger with each passing second. She could feel the ship being drawn toward it, the immense force of the gravitational field threatening to tear them apart. "Do we have a plan?" she asked, her voice shaking. "We can't fight the pull," Zarek said, his face grim. "But I know a way to use it to our advantage. If I can reroute the ship's engines to generate a reverse thrust just before we reach the event horizon, we might be able to escape. But it's risky. We might burn out the engines." Kara didn't hesitate. She grabbed the nearest panel and began pulling up the schematics for the ship's engines. "Then let's do it." Zarek's eyes flicked to her, surprise flashing across his face before his features settled into a hard resolve. "You're sure about this?" "I'm sure," she said, her voice steady. "We have no other choice. Do it." He nodded, his fingers flying over the controls. Kara worked beside him, her mind racing as she scanned the ship's systems. They had only one shot at this. The ship lurched again, the black hole's pull growing stronger. The engines groaned in protest, but Kara could feel the ship systems responding, preparing for the emergency maneuver. "We're almost there," Zarek muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. "Ready?" Kara didn't reply. Instead, she focused on the instruments in front of her, watching as the countdown to the critical moment ticked closer. When the time came, Zarek slammed his hand down on the activation switch. The ship's engines screamed, and for a terrifying moment, it felt like they would be torn apart. The pull of the black hole was overwhelming, the ship shaking violently as it fought against the impossible force. And then, with a sudden, bone-jarring jolt, the ship shot forward, breaking free from the black hole's grip. The stars outside the viewport exploded into focus once more, the universe stretching out before them in all its vast, mysterious beauty. Kara collapsed into her seat, her body shaking with the aftermath of the harrowing escape. She glanced at Zarek, who was panting, his face a mixture of relief and exhaustion. "We made it," she whispered, her voice breathless. "For now," Zarek replied, his eyes still fixed on the starry expanse ahead of them. "But the real battle is still waiting for us." Kara nodded, the weight of his words sinking in. They had survived the impossible, but what lay ahead was even more uncertain. The path they were on was dangerous, and it was only getting darker. But there was no turning back now. "We'll fight for her," Kara said, determination rising within her. "We'll save Lara."